All right, so it's January 21st, and we are doing our first real estate roundup. This is going to be a series that we're going to continue to do, and we're only going to be growing it over the coming months so that it's a regular way for you to find out what's happening in the real estate market in your local area. So because ADIS Appraisals covers a wide area, of course supported by ADIS Realty, we are going to be busy. So we might even have enough material here to fill a whole TV channel. But let's just start here with Vancouver East Side, detached. So that is going to be our real estate roundup for today. Now, because the stats come out around mid-month, we're going to be able to talk to you basically up until the end of December. We're not going to try to fine-tune it much more because there may be some activity in January, and of course there is, but it's hard to monitor because all of that hasn't been reported yet. It's only January 21st. So we're talking about 2023, the end of 2023, which is fairly recent, and what's happened, the volume of sales. So we're always going to start these real estate roundups on the volume. In East Side detached, forgive me for checking, but I've got all my stats in front of me. We had 48 detached sales in the East Side of Vancouver in December. What does that mean to you? You know, it means 1.5 a day. Well, where does that compare? We had 38 in December 22. So actually, as slow as this market may seem to be, in detached product in East Vancouver, we're actually up. So we're actually up about 20%. So in statistical terms, it sounds like a lot. Of course, it's only 8 sales, but we are a little busier than we were. Now, for those of you that think, geez, it seems like it's slower than that. It seems slower than that to me. We can go back a little further. If I jump back to December 2021, it does paint a different story. We had 94 sales. So if you compare to 2021, we are in half. So we had a very slow December 2022 in Vancouver East Side detached, as well as 2023, although slightly better, but we were way down. 2021 was double it. If I jump back to 2020, we were at 132. So we're actually at about a third of what we were then. Prior to that, it was down. So we had a busy year in 2021. Everybody knows that. A lot of COVID stimulus money coming in, low interest rates, buying frenzy. 2021 was busy. 2022 was a sharp drop. We're seeing a little bounce. So what does this mean? Are we headed for busier times? That's our discussion around volume. The next place we want to talk about is price levels. Of course, the Real Estate Board publishes the HPI, which is the Homeowner Price Index, to give us an idea of where we are. If we look at December 2023, we are about, for Vancouver East Side, we are at 1857 for your average price, homeowner average price. Where were we? December 22, 1683. So we're up. Now, most people are going to tell you the market went up in 2023. It may or may not be true for all categories, but in single family detached, we're seeing a stat from the Vancouver Real Estate Board that we are up. So all things said and done, it's close to 10%. So let's check that work. As an appraiser, we check that work with what we call paired sales. So this is where I like to really test the stats. Is it true that you made 10% on a single family home in the East Side of Vancouver? Should you have owned that for the span of 2023? We actually have some examples here to look at. I have 5 homes that sold and resold that tell a little bit of a story, each one. First, 2939 East 6th Avenue. This home sold twice. Once was March 9th, 2023, resold again December 2nd, 2023. So captured 10 months out of the 12 of 2023. When it first sold back in March, it sold for $1,650. When it resold, it sold for $1,775. We have a 7.58% increase over 10 months. So guess what? That verifies our 10%, roughly 10% stat for the HPI. This house went up. If I look at listings, it doesn't look like they did any work to it. It's an older home. It's mostly land value. People said, I'm willing to pay more for land in East Vancouver in 2023 in December, more so than they did in March. It supports our stat. Next, 5114 Fairmont Street. Fairmont originally sold in March 2022 for 1.56. Resold November 14th, 2023 for $17.99. So we're looking at a 15% increase, but of course, this is going back to 2022. So it's actually almost 2 years in market change. Now, we haven't looked at the stats, but we can now. If we looked at the homeowner price index, we see that, December 2021, it was actually a little higher than it was in December 2022. So we have a situation where the market went down a little to 2022 and then back up in 2023. Does that seem to fit? We're not going to test all that on this real estate roundup. We might be here forever if we do that level of detail every single episode. But today we are looking at something that increased about 15% over 2 years. It generally supports the homeowner price index that the market went up about 10% for the east side of Vancouver detached in 2023. Now this stat is similar. It's going over 2022 and 2023. 1622 Kitchener Street sold in Jan 25, 2022 for $16.75, resold for $1.8 November 20, 2023. We have a 7.4% increase. Now it seems low considering 2 years, but remember from our HPI, if the market dipped from 2021 to the end of 2022, then it had to outweigh that from 2022 December to 2023 December. And that may be why we're at 7.4% overall, because it had a dip first and then an increase. So in fact, this resale at Kitchener, again, nothing done to the house, supports that we've gone up in 2023, 10% for the east side of Vancouver. We have a couple left. This one is a little bit more straightforward because it's a resale only happening within 2023. 968 East 55 sold, not on MLS, but sold for $17.25 in June. So because usually closings take a couple months, we can assume it was negotiated March, April. It resold for $18.78 at the end of 2023. I like the ones that are at the end. It really shows what happened throughout the year. $18.78. So we have a 9% increase over 9-10 months. So that just absolutely certifies and supports the HPI opinion of the real estate board. So maybe that stat is working well for them. One more, I don't want to overdo it, but 5 examples really show something. As an appraiser, we don't like to use 1 or 2. You can have anomalies all over the place. These so far are all in line. This is number 5. Of course, this is the one that's going to be the anomaly. 1024 East 51st sold March 2023 for 2.657. So all things remaining consistent, we should be up to about 2.8, 2.9. But no, it sold for 2.6 in December 4th, 2023. What does that mean? What's different here? Why did it go down instead of up? Well, if I look into the listing, I have a few ideas. The number one thing about this sale, 1024 East 51, is it's a newer home. Now, not newer meaning new, but it's 20. All of the other sales we looked at were older homes. They were basically about land value. The reason why this one's actually went down a bit can have a few explanations. In my opinion, it was a home that probably wasn't in the greatest condition when they got it, and it probably wasn't better when they resold it. It had tenants, it was vacant. It probably being 20 years old is right at that point where there's wear and tear that's considerable. They likely got into this home not knowing fully that it needed work, and they probably wanted out as fast as they could. So I think that if I had to answer why this one went down, it's not a land value. Land value, they supported the HPI index. We know the land went up in 2023 in the east side of Vancouver. It's not debatable. This has to do with the improvement. It has to do with the motivations of the buyer. I think that they may have been overly motivated at first, also overly motivated to get out. And I think that the home probably had more work required than they knew that they were headed for. So we do have an anomaly, but it's explainable. So when we look at a real estate roundup in regards to price level, we have a definitive answer that the market in the east side of Vancouver has gone up about 10% from Jan 2023 to December. So we're going to wrap up our real estate roundup for the East Vancouver detached category. So we've learned so far that in 2023, if you owned a piece of land in East Vancouver that was residential, you're probably up 10%. Again, this is not across the board because you may have had an improvement that depreciated over that time to counter it. But for the most part, you're probably up 10% on your land part, not the improvement part. So let's be a little bit more clear. If you had a lot worth 1.5 and improvement worth 6, the 1.5 went up 10%, not the 6. So if you can in your mind separate that, it's going to be easier. But if it was raw land or an older home, you're probably up 10%. Now, what's going to happen this year, 2024? We can try to estimate, forecast where we're going. Inventory is what we always look at last on these roundups. This being our first roundup, I can tell you that in December of 2023, we had 336 homes for sale. Now, it sounds like a lot, especially when you have sales of 40, 50, 60 a month. Well, geez, that is half a year's inventory. But it's not a crazy amount. If you look at last year, we had 328 for sale in December. So we're almost the same, just a little bit more. The year prior was 345. So based on the fact that last year we had 328 sitting for available inventory, and we had a 10% increase in this category in 2023, we might be poised for another increase. Inventory alone doesn't tell the story. That's the supply side. We also have demand. On the demand side, it's looking good. We have interest rates poised to come down. Bank of Canada is projecting up to 5 cuts. So we know they're coming down at least a point. We have a little bit of pent-up demand for real estate, and we have one other big factor on top of lots of new immigration. We have single-family lots being upzoned as part of Bill 44 passed by the provincial government, and this is for small residential multi-use housing. So they are saying, and I have another video on this that you can watch afterwards, that if this property is in the city of Vancouver, you can build more additional units than you're zoned for now. Every municipality, including Vancouver, must deal with this new bill by the end of June. So you have land that will produce more units, that will push that land value up. Right now, sitting here, January 21st, 2024, if I have to forecast to you where we'll be in 1 year, I'm going to forecast another 10% increase. We also have inflation. Inflation's curbed a bit, but for the most part, it's still alive and well. That only pushes prices up higher as well. We have inflation, we have upzoning of land, we have the same amount of supply, so not any scary amounts of supply. We have a lot of immigration coming in, and we have the interest rate cuts, which are coming. So I'm on record happy to predict another 10% increase in single family prices in the east side of Vancouver. Again, the land part only. If you have a $5 million house on a $1 million lot, that house isn't going up, just the land. Anyway, I think I made myself clear. That ends this roundup.